Hey everyone, my name is Asia. I'm with College Vine, and before we get started talking about your college essays today, I just want to take a moment to remind you about our free essay services. So, first, if you want to get a free review of your essay, you can head on over here and submit your essay. You'll get detailed inline edits, and you'll get your essay back in a return time of about 3 to 8 hours, maybe even less. And you can also improve your own writing skills by reviewing another student's essay right here. So a student will submit their essay, you'll provide feedback and send it back to them. And if you're looking for some more help on your essays, some guidance, you can head on over to our essay prompts and guides. So in our essay prompts and guides, you'll find a list of all the schools that you're applying to and how to write the essays. Head on over to collegevine.com to sign up and get started with all our free essay services today.
We're going to talk about the first question about the world you came from, whether that means your family, clubs, school, community, city, or town. And they want to know how it's shaped your dreams and aspirations. So what this essay is asking you to do is reflect on your past and your present to see how it's shaped your future. And so this is a pretty common essay type. It's asking you about your community and the place that you call home. So start maybe by thinking about your aspirations and working backwards. What are your goals? What do you hope to achieve, especially after college? And how has your community helped you to realize those goals, to understand and recognize them? You could also work, from in a chronological kind of way rather than working backwards from your aspirations. You can think about it in terms of what is a community that's really important to me, which community is really formative in my life, and what has it taught me, and which goals and aspirations has that influenced. So you can work at it from either direction, but as this last bullet says, you're reflecting on the past and present to take a look into the future. And that's going to be something that you hear me say a lot in this presentation and in every other one. It's all about taking your past experiences and seeing where they're headed, seeing where they're directing you to. So to give an example of what this kind of essay might look like, we have an example here about breathing fresh air, okay? So maybe you are somebody who has grown up in a very smoggy city like Los Angeles or Beijing. Beijing is a really interesting example because it's a place where the air quality is so bad a lot of the time that people are often seen wearing masks, even pre-pandemic. And so you grew up in this place, or maybe you spent a couple years there, and it made you realize how important it is for us to transition towards green energy. And that has sort of fueled your passion for sustainability and green technologies and eco-friendly practices. And so now you want to study environmental engineering and architecture, and that's what you're interested in pursuing as a career. It doesn't necessarily have to be a career goal that you explore here, especially because you do answer a question about your major in the next prompt. But that's usually a pretty good concrete place to pin an aspiration. You don't necessarily have to stick to what this is. This is not asking you to set your future in stone, of course, but it's an example for you to keep in the back of your mind. Another example of an essay responding to this prompt might be about a children's hospital. For example, if your parents work as pediatric nurses at the children's hospital nearby, and you spent a lot of time there watching your parents work with these kids, and to the point where the hospital is basically your second home, and you're observing and you're learning and you're taking it all in, and maybe you grew up and you started volunteering at the hospital, and you could focus on a lot of different things. What, for example, if it was really painful for you to see kids suffer, but you also get to see this glimpse of hope and people who really care about getting better and making other people better, and seeing how much joy the staff was able to bring to these patients, to their families, and the community around you. So maybe this is, undercutting your are underscoring your motivation to go to medical school or to become a nurse yourself, like your parents, and spread hope, in this kind of setting. So just sort of in conclusion on this type of essay and in this particular prompt, every one of the examples that I mentioned here is recreating or retelling an important story, and maybe a moment, a single anecdote that analyzes how the world that you're talking about led to the realization of the goals and aspirations you have for the future. So it's that future look, that forward-facing direction towards personal growth that shows what this essay is really asking you to do, which is to reflect on what your dreams are and where they came from. And while this says preferably tied to your career ambitions, partly because that's an easy way to put it in perspective of your own future, but it doesn't necessarily have to be related to your career. It can absolutely be a more personal goal, especially if you're like me and you had no clue what you wanted to do when you graduated upon applying to college. One key thing here, as is going to be important for pretty much every essay you write from here on out, specificity conveys authenticity. So the danger of writing a generic essay is that it doesn't actually share very much about you personally. And so the more detail you can include, the more this feels like you, this feels like your voice. And I can get a sense as a reader of who you are and what you'll bring to my campus at MIT. And so that's a really good rule of thumb that you should be thinking of whenever you write a personal essay like this. Am I being as specific as I can be?